So one of the great cowards in American public life is Seth Rogen. So Seth Rogen, of course, is the director of a wide variety of, I would say, mediocre to somewhat good films. He's done a couple of things that are kind of interesting. He's also a wildly overrated actor, a jerk on social media, by the way. But where he's really a jerk is when it comes to his friends. So James Franco was a longtime friend of Seth Rogen, and Rogen defended him over and over. He made jokes, open jokes about Seth Rogen, about James Franco's proclivity for 17-year-old girls. And recently he came out, he said, I'm not going to make any movies with James anymore. Just not going to do it anymore. Oh, yes, I'm sure it came as a great shock to you to learn that James Franco was actually James Franco. So Seth Rogen, because he's a coward, he threw James Franco directly under the bus. Now he's saying, you know what? I love cancel culture. Cancel culture is just the best. And comedians who worry about cancel culture, comedians who get upset that they're getting canceled over old jokes, they should just shut up because times change, man. And we just have to recognize that some of our old jokes were bad. Seth Rogen has realized that the gold in Hollywood is if you lead the mob, then the mob won't eat you. So if they ever criticize you about an old joke, you go, you know what? You're right. I was homophobic. That was a truly homophobic joke. He's been doing this for years, by the way. All the way back in 2016, he started ripping on his own movie, Superbad. He said that some of the riffs in the movie, quote, border on blatantly homophobic. He said, it's funny looking at some movies we've made in the last 10 years under the lenses of new eras, new social consciousness. There's for sure some stuff in our earlier movies, and even in our most recent movies, or even a year later, you're like, maybe that wasn't the greatest idea. Well, now he's carrying that forward on Good Morning Britain. He says, I don't even know why people are against cancel culture. I don't even understand why cancellation's bad, because after all, times change.
Saying terrible things is bad. So if you said something terrible, then that's something you should confront in some way, shape, or form. I don't think that's cancel culture. That's you saying something terrible if that's what you've done.
Now, here's the beauty of being Seth Rogen. You get to say, what is the terrible thing? Right? That's the beauty of it. If somebody says, you said something terrible, you go, yeah, sure, I did say something terrible. But here's the thing. I know that I said something terrible. Everybody else out there, they're the ones who are really saying terrible things. Those are the ones who are really saying terrible things. Now, Seth Rogen thinks this is going to protect him. It is not going to protect him. There will come a point at which you finally stumble on a core value that Seth Rogen holds. See, to believe in the constantly shifting line here, you have to have no core values. You have to essentially be an ideological nihilist. You have to think that the values of society, constantly moving, ever shifting, there's no core to it. So if you said something that apparently everything in the past is up for debate, everything he has ever said, he can just disown as indefensible a year later. He'll just move right along, which means that he's a coward and gutless. Because if you have any core principles at all, at a certain point you say, you know what? Yeah, it was a funny joke. And if you find it offensive right now, gotta say, tough. That's what anyone with an iota of actual credibility would say. But when you just skate along on the surface of life, disowning all of your prior statements as statements of the moment, without demonstrating why exactly you think they were bad, or what has changed in your mind about it, this makes you just a tool of people who are seeking to destroy other people's careers. So if you're friends with Seth Rogen, don't look for that guy to stand in front of a train for you. He ain't going to do it. If you're anybody in the comedic community who's friends with Seth Rogen, just understand that when they come for you, Seth Rogen is going to immediately turn around and engage in some friendly fire. Because that's his top priority. His top priority is moving along with the crowd and fomenting the mob. Now, what's funny about this is that eventually cancel culture does hit everybody. Eventually, everybody gets canceled. So there's this woman named Emily Wilder. She was hired at the AP. And Emily Wilder had a long history of sort of bizarre statements online. She had called me a little turd or something. I don't care. That's the mildest of the criticism I receive online. But mostly, she'd been associated with a wild left anti-Israel group called Students for Justice in Palestine, which is, in fact, a radical anti-Israel and, in many cases, de facto pro-terrorist group. And that came out. And the AP decided that they didn't want to hire her anymore. And I said on this show just a few days ago, I didn't think that they should not hire her. I think that's what the AP is, and they should own it. She came out with a video immediately saying, well, it's because of people like Ben Shapiro that this happened. Well, no, it really wasn't. I just pointed out that Emily Wilder has also spoken openly about how when people on the right get canceled, that's not cancel culture, that's accountability culture. But when she gets canceled, that's not accountability, that's cancel culture. But here's the thing. When the cancel culture comes for Seth Rogen, then is he going to call it accountability culture? I really doubt it. The way this works is that folks who are on the hardcore cancel culture left, they're not interested in the Overton window being open. They're interested in it being closed, so long as they get to control the Overton window. The ironic part of this is that eventually it comes for everybody. Eventually, the alligator eats you because the mob always needs fresh bodies. The mob always needs people that it can bury. And you can try to appease them. You can try to run away from them. Or at some point, you might have to have some core values. So I wonder how long it'll be before they reach a core value of Seth Rogen's in which he tries to defend himself and he's finished too. And when that happens, guess what? Ain't going to have a lot of defenders out here. Because if you are the person swinging the frying pan at all of your heretofore friends, and then it comes back and hits you in the face, we just call that poetic justice. Who's got two thumbs and wants you to like and subscribe?